The girl left in the dark. The spaceport was almost silent now. The last cargo ship had taken off an hour ago, leaving behind nothing but metal dust, broken crates, and cold wind. Lights flickered on the corners of the landing bay. The night was long, and the stars above seemed far away, too far for someone who had just been left behind. Under a rusted shelter near the edge of the port, a small alien girl sat curled up. Her skin was soft blue, her long silver hair tangled with wires and dust. She held her knees close to her chest, trying not to cry. Her name was Sally, but no one here knew that. To the world, she was just another useless child left behind on a dying station. Sally had always known she was different. Her bones were weaker than others her age. She couldn't lift heavy things or run fast like her cousins. Back on her home world, she often heard whispers. She's a burden. Why did the family even keep her this long? She tried to help, to be useful, but it was never enough. And now, they were gone. They didn't even say goodbye. Her mother had looked away. Her father had given orders to the pilot, and then they stepped into the ship, leaving her standing on the cold floor with a half-eaten food ration in her hands. The ship's engines roared, and just like that, she was alone. Hours passed. Nobody noticed her. A group of traders passed by, laughing, talking about scrap prices. One of them almost stepped on her but didn't stop. She watched their boots walk away, her heart sinking deeper each time. She was hungry, cold, afraid. But more than anything, she felt invisible. Just when she thought the silence would swallow her, she heard slow footsteps, heavy boots. Not like the others. They stopped near her. She didn't look up. The voice came soft, unsure. "Hey, are you hurt?" Sally froze. Nobody had asked that before. She looked up slowly. In front of her stood a human man, older than most she had seen, with rough hands and a tired face. His beard was messy and his clothes were stained with engine grease. He wore a heavy jacket with patches and carried a tool pack. His eyes were kind. She didn't answer. Just stared. The man crouched beside her, not too close. He held out a small round item, food, a wrapped protein bar. "You look like you could use this more than me." Her hands shook as she reached for it. She didn't speak. She unwrapped it slowly and took a bite. Tears slipped down her face. The man didn't push. He just sat near her, silent, watching the sky like she had done earlier. Minutes passed before he spoke again. "Name's Cade. I work down at the repair dock, fixing broken ships." Sally wiped her face with her sleeve. "Sally." She whispered, "Sally," he repeated like it was something precious. "Nice to meet you." A pause. "Your people leave you here?" She nodded once. He didn't say sorry. He didn't say anything useless like they'll come back. Instead, he looked at the empty spaceport and then back at her. "You got a place to stay?" She shook her head. He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, I don't got much, but there's an old container back near my dock. It's dry. You can sleep there tonight." Sally blinked. "You don't want anything?" He looked confused. "Want what?" "Others. They ask for something. First, food, shelter, always a price." Cade gave a dry chuckle. "Kid, if I wanted something, I wouldn't have given you the food first." Sally didn't know what to say. She stood slowly, legs stiff. Her thin robe dragged against the dust. Cade waited, not helping, letting her choose. After a moment, she nodded once. "Okay." He led her across the old port, past blinking lights and fuel drums. They reached a small corner behind a scrapyard where an old shipping container stood, half covered in tarp. "Not much," he said, opening the metal door. "But it's warm. I'll bring you a blanket." Inside, it was quiet. There was a small cot, some old pillows, a heater, and a broken lamp. To Sally, it looked like heaven. She sat on the cot as he placed a blanket beside her. I'll check on you in the morning. Sleep safe, kid." As he walked away, Saley whispered, "Thank you." Cade paused but didn't look back. He just raised one hand in reply and disappeared into the night. For the first time in her life, Saley didn't cry because she was afraid. She cried because someone had seen her and stayed. The broken ship and the broken soul. The night was long and silent, but for Saley, it felt strangely safe. Wrapped in a soft blanket inside the metal container, she didn't sleep much. Every small sound outside made her flinch. Old memories wouldn't let her rest, but the warmth from the heater, the smell of engine oil in the air, and the human's quiet kindness kept her still. When morning came, a soft knock tapped on the container wall. Saley sat up fast, heart racing. "Just me," came Cade's calm voice. "Brought breakfast." He stepped in and handed her a cup of warm broth and some bread. She stared at it like it was treasure. He didn't stay long, just said, "Come by the workshop later if you want. Or not. Your choice." Then he left. Hours passed. Saley sat alone, thinking. The air in her chest still felt heavy, but something deep inside her whispered, maybe this time someone wouldn't hurt her. Maybe this time, someone would stay. Just before midday, she stepped out. Sunlight hit her face for the first time in days. Cade's workshop was a mess of broken machines, wires, and half-finished tools. The smell of burnt metal filled the air. Saley stood at the door, unsure. "You came," Cade said, not even looking up as he welded a pipe. "Can I help?" she asked, voice small. He paused. "You know engines?" "No." He smiled. "Good. Means I won't have to fix what you break." She didn't understand the joke, but she smiled anyway. He handed her a cloth. "Wipe that panel clean. Start. There." As the hours passed, they worked side by side. Cade didn't talk much. He didn't ask about her past. He just explained things when needed, gave her small tasks, and nodded when she did something right. It felt normal, but the normal didn't last. Around late afternoon, a tall alien male stepped into the workshop. He was wearing a sleek black uniform with a laser holster at his side. His voice was cold and sharp. "You. Human." Cade didn't stop working. "What? We heard you took in a stray. She's not registered. That's a problem." Saley froze behind a crate. The man hadn't seen her yet. "She's a kid," Cade said calmly. "She's not causing trouble." "Doesn't matter. Laws are clear. No shelter for non-registered aliens, especially not abandoned ones. Send her to the trade court. Let them deal with it." Cade stood up now, wiping his hands. "You want to drag a scared child to the court like some kind of thief? She didn't steal anything." "That's not the point," the officer said. "Then what is?" "She's not your responsibility." Cade stepped closer. "Maybe not. But she's not yours either." They stared at each other for a long moment. Then the officer turned and walked out, leaving behind only the sound of his boots hitting the metal floor. Saley came out, her face pale. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be," Cade replied. "You didn't do anything wrong." "But," he said, "I shouldn't be here." He also said I should stop fixing ships because I don't work for the Central Fleet. Cade grinned. "I didn't listen then, either." Saley felt her throat tighten. "Why are you being nice to me?" Cade looked at her, serious now. "Because once, someone wasn't nice to my daughter, and I lost her. Maybe this won't fix that, but maybe it's better than doing nothing." The silence between them said more than words. That evening, as they closed the workshop, Cade handed her a small data pad. "This is yours now. I'll teach you how to use it. You learn engines, wires, fuel systems. Start slow." Saley nodded, holding it like a sacred object. Later, in the quiet of the container, she opened the pad and began to read. Fuel cores, energy levels, basic diagrams. Each word she read felt like a brick added to her broken world. Slowly, she was building something new. But outside, beyond the shadows of the scrapyard, something stirred. The officer had returned. This time, not alone. The offer of a new name. Darkness fell across the scrapyard like a thick blanket. Flickering lights barely lit the broken paths between piles of ship junk and rusted panels. But inside the container, a soft glow from the data pad lit Sally's face. Her fingers moved slowly across the screen as she tried to understand engine diagrams. She had never owned anything like this before. The data pad felt like a doorway to a new world. But outside, danger was growing. Behind the metal fences of the station, the officer who had warned Cade earlier was speaking to two more figures. Both wore dark coats with hidden weapons. They were not law enforcers. They were bounty scavengers, people who hunted the unwanted and sold them back to whoever paid. Sometimes families, sometimes worse. "She's not on any list," the officer whispered. "No record, no planet registry, no protector, she's alone." "How much?" "Enough to feed a station patrol for a year." The taller scavenger nodded. "We'll take her tonight." Meanwhile, Sally stood outside the container, holding a toolbox. Cade had taught her how to refill a coolant pipe earlier. She wanted to practice again before bed. Her steps were quiet, focused. But as she turned the corner of the workshop, she saw something that made her freeze. The main gate was open. It was never left open at night. She slowly walked back toward the container, but her heart beat faster. She felt something strange in the air, like the way an animal feels before a storm. Inside the workshop, Cade checked one of the scanners. It showed movement near the south gate. He frowned. "Not good," he whispered. He grabbed a tool that wasn't just a tool, a heavy spanner reinforced with a stun core. He tucked it under his coat and stepped outside. "Sally?" he called, softly. She appeared from the shadows. "Gate is open." "I know," he said. "Go back inside, lock the container, no matter what you hear. Don't open the door until I come." "But now." She nodded and ran. Cade moved toward the gate. The night air was cold, sharp. From the shadows, a voice echoed. "You're protecting a thief, old man." "She's not a thief. She doesn't belong here. Neither do you." Then they stepped out. Two scavengers, both armed. "Move aside. We take the girl. No one gets hurt." "You think I'd just let you walk in and drag her away?" The taller scavenger grinned. "You're outnumbered." Cade shrugged. "Maybe." He raised the spanner. A blue charge lit the edges. Then he struck first. Metal met flesh. Sparks flew. The fight was dirty, brutal. The smaller scavenger pulled. A blade cut Cade across the arm. He winced but didn't fall. He swung back hard. One man dropped, but the other ran toward the container. Inside, Sally heard the noise. Grunts, metal, yelling. She wanted to scream, but she remembered Cade's words. "Don't open the door." The scavenger reached the container. He slammed the side with his fist. "Open up, you little freak." Sally grabbed a wrench and held it close, breathing fast. "Your family sent for you," he growled. "They want you back. You're worth more to them now. You hear me? They finally realized you have value." She didn't move. "Open the door or I break it." He began to slam it harder. Just then, bang, a loud crash outside. The scavenger turned. Cade stood behind him, bruised but still standing. "Step away from her." The man turned and charged. This time, Cade didn't swing first. Sally did. The container door slammed open, and the small alien girl smashed the wrench into the man's side. He cried out and dropped his weapon. Cade finished it. Minutes later, the scavengers were tied to a broken landing rail. Bruised. Beaten. Cade leaned against a crate, breathing hard. Sally stood beside him, shaking. I broke the rule," she whispered. "I opened the door." He looked at her, then smiled. "Good. That means you're learning to protect what matters." She blinked. "You mean me?" "You matter, kid." The words hit her harder than any strike. Her throat tightened. "Why?" she asked. Cade wiped the blood from his arm. Because you're not what they say you are, and because I see something in you they don't. Silence. Then she asked softly, Can I choose a new name? He looked at her, surprised. I don't want to be Saley anymore. That name belonged to someone who cried in the dark and believed the bad things. I want to be someone new. He nodded. What name would you choose? She paused. Ara. Ara, he repeated with a nod. Sounds like hope. She smiled faintly. It is. Under the stars, Cade and Ara sat quietly beside the still-burning workshop light. Their bodies were sore, but something inside felt stronger than ever before. And beyond the scrapyard fence, word of the human who protected alien trash began to spread. But so did something else, whispers of an alien girl who was no longer afraid. The test of loyalty. The sky turned a deep orange as the second sun sank below the horizon. The scrapyard was quiet now, but the silence felt different, thicker. Like something was about to happen. Ara, once known as Saley, stood at the edge of the landing bay. Her hands were covered in grease. She had just finished cleaning a damaged fuel line on an old freighter. Her movements were careful, her eyes focused. It had been 2 weeks since the night of the attack. Since then, Cade had let her work beside him every day. Each morning she learned something new. How to strip engine coils, how to spot a cracked coolant tube, how to tell when a ship's power core was lying. But today, Cade was acting different. He stood near the comms tower holding a message chip in his hand. His jaw was tight and his eyes avoided Ara's. She noticed. Cade, she asked. What is it? He handed her the chip. Someone's looking for you again, but this time, it's not bounty scavengers. Ara read the message. Her hands trembled. Return her to Station Arikon. Reward guaranteed. By order of Bloodline Talrex. Bloodline. Talrex, her family. The same family that left her behind. She looked at Cade, eyes wide. They want me back? Seems that way. Why? Don't know. Maybe they need something. Maybe they want to clean their name. Or maybe it's a trap. Ara felt cold all over. She remembered their faces, how they turned away, how they never spoke a word when the ship left her behind. I don't want to go back. You don't have to, Cade said. But the next day they came. Not bounty hunters this time, but officials. Well-dressed aliens with soft voices and sharp eyes. They stepped into the scrapyard like they owned it. Their clothes shimmered. Their hands were empty, but their words were weapons. We are from House Talrex, one of them said to Cade. We've come for the girl. Ara stood behind a crate, watching. You left her to die, Cade said calmly. Now you come back like nothing happened? That was a misunderstanding, the lead official replied. She was lost, not abandoned. Ara almost laughed. We are ready to welcome her home. She has potential, and the family wants her to take her place. You mean now that she's useful? Cade snapped. The official's smile faded. Do not confuse kindness with weakness, human. We are offering her a future, a real one, not this life among garbage and broken ships. Cade looked over at Ara. Your call. She stepped out slowly. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were steady. You left me, she said to the officials. They bowed slightly. There were mistakes. We regret them now. What changed? The second official spoke. You're known now. Skilled. You carry honor by surviving. Ara stared at them. For a moment, her heart beat with confusion. It felt good being wanted. It felt powerful. But then she looked at Cade. His arm was still wrapped from the night he fought for her. His hands were rough from fixing engines she broke. His voice never shouted. His silence was always full of care. And suddenly, she knew. I'm not going with you, she said. The officials froze. I already have a future, she continued, and a family. The lead official's voice turned cold. Refusing this offer means turning your back on your blood. They turned their back on me first. You'll regret this. Cade stepped forward. You heard her. Time to leave. They did. But not quietly. As they walked away, the lead official whispered, "The council will hear of this." Later that night, the scrapyard was silent again. Cade sat beside the fire barrel, drinking thick tea. Era sat across from him, holding a wrench she had turned into a decoration, painted, carved, her name etched along the side. They were angry, she said. Yep. You think they'll come back? Probably. You regret keeping me? Looked at her. Not for a second. She smiled. Then after a long pause, she asked, "Can I stay forever?" He nodded. "As long as you want." She leaned back, eyes staring at the sky. The stars were brighter now. She didn't know what would come next. Who else might try to take her away, or what danger might return. But tonight, she knew something stronger than fear. She belonged, and she would fight to protect it. The day she stood tall, the sun burned high above the scrapyard, casting sharp shadows over the piles of junk and rusted engines. It was repair day. 5 trade ships had requested quick service before moving toward the deep sectors. It was Cade's busiest week in months. But today, he couldn't get out of bed. His old wound had flared up. The cut from the scavengers, blade weeks ago, had never healed right. His face was pale, his breathing shallow. "You need rest," Era said, sitting beside him with a wet cloth. "Can't stop," Cade muttered. "Ships are coming. Let me handle it," she said softly. Cade opened one eye. "Ara, this is more than just patching a pipe. It's full diagnostics, plasma cores, real deals." "I've studied everything," she said. "You taught me. Now trust me." He paused, then slowly nodded. Just, be careful. Don't let them push you around." Era stood, her back straight, her jaw firm. "I won't." The first ship arrived, a fast courier with a damaged rear coil. The pilot stepped out, looking around. When he saw Era instead of Cade, he frowned. "Where's the human?" "Resting," she said. "I'm handling all work today." "You?" He laughed. "How old are you, 12? 15, she said calmly. "Want the engine fixed or not?" He rolled his eyes. "Whatever. Just don't break it more." She didn't answer. Instead, she slid under the craft and began scanning the coil. 30 minutes later, the ship's engine roared to life, smoother than ever. The pilot's jaw dropped. "Okay, maybe you're not as useless as you look." Era didn't reply. She simply turned and walked toward the next job. By midday, she had repaired 3 ships, each with a different issue. Overheating plasma ports, corroded wiring, a malfunctioning nav core. Every time a trader doubted her, she proved them wrong. But then came the last one. A large black cargo ship docked quietly. Its hull was dented, its power signals unstable. 2 alien crew members stepped out, tall, sharp-eyed, wearing sleek armor. "We heard this station had a mechanic," one of them said. "You heard right," Era replied. They looked her up and down. "We expected someone else. He's not available. We'll wait." Era crossed her arms. "You'll wait a long time." They stared at her for a moment. Then one of them said, "Fine. The front thruster's giving false readings. Fix it." As Era walked toward the ship, she noticed something strange. The thruster wasn't just broken, it had been sabotaged. This wasn't a random trader ship. This was a smuggler craft, and now they were watching her closely, she thought quickly. If she fixed it without question, they might disappear with stolen tech, or worse. But if she refused, they could hurt her. "Problem?" one of them asked. "Yes," she said, "but I can fix it." She went to the side panel and slipped a tracker into the cable line, one Cade had built months ago for emergencies. Then she began repairs. 20 minutes later, she stepped back. Done. The smugglers climbed inside, ran a test, and the ship purred like a beast. "Impressive," one of them said, stepping out. "Maybe you're not just some abandoned brat." "I'm not," she said. They tossed a credit chip at her feet. "That's for your silence." I didn't see anything, she replied, picking it up. But they didn't know about the tracker now pinging their location to the patrol ships nearby. As they flew off, Era stood quietly, breathing hard. She had just faced real danger, and she'd won. Hours later, as the suns dipped low and shadows returned, Cade walked into the workshop slowly. You did it, he said, surprised. All 5 ships? She nodded. No one gave you trouble? Just one, but I handled it. He looked at her, full of quiet pride. Era, today you stood taller than anyone I've ever known. She smiled, tired but glowing. And tomorrow, she said, I'll do it again. Far above the station, patrol ships intercepted the black cargo vessel. The smugglers were caught, and the data tracker in their ship gave full evidence of their crimes when the officials asked how they were located so easily. They were told a teenage alien girl fixed their ship, and suddenly, across trade channels and pilot groups, her name began to spread. Aura. The girl who wasn't supposed to survive. The girl who fixed everything they broke. The return of her blood family. The next morning, the sky over the scrapyard was heavy with gray clouds. A strange stillness hung in the air. Even the metal piles seemed quieter. Cade stood beside Era as she tested a new plasma ignition circuit. Her fingers moved with care, her eyes were sharp. She was no longer the scared girl who once hid behind crates. You've come far, Cade said. Because you believed in me, Era replied softly. But before he could say anything more, the sound of an incoming ship cut through the quiet. Era turned to look. Her breath caught in her throat. The ship that landed wasn't a trader. It was royal, smooth silver body, gold symbols of House Talrex on the wings, the same family that had abandoned her on a port floor like trash. The ramp lowered, and out stepped them, her mother, her older brother. 3 guards in polished armor. They walked toward her like shadows. Calm, cold, perfect. Cade stepped forward, first placing himself between Era and the newcomers. We talked about this, he said. She's not going back. Her mother gave a tight smile. We didn't come to argue. We came to speak with her. In peace. Funny, Cade muttered. That's not how it felt last time. Her brother stepped forward. His eyes scanned Era, almost calculating. You've made quite the name for yourself. I made my name, Era replied, standing tall. You left me with nothing. We were wrong, her mother said suddenly, her voice soft but filled with pressure. But we want to make it right. Now? Era's voice trembled, not with fear but anger. Now that others speak my name with respect? Now that you can show me off? Her mother didn't answer. Her brother spoke instead. Come back with us, be part of your bloodline again. You'll have power, status, education. Chains, Era whispered. No, he said quickly. Opportunity. She looked at Cade. I have that already. Her mother's face hardened. This life, fixing trash, living in dust, it's beneath you. You are Talrex. I was. But not anymore. You would turn down your name for this? Her brother asked. For a tired old human with nothing to give you but broken tools? Cade stepped back, letting her speak. Ara's voice rose. He gave me food when I was hungry, shelter when I was freezing. He fought for me when no one else would. And most of all, he never made me feel like a mistake. Silence. You want me to come back? She asked, stepping closer. Then answer. Why did you leave me? Her mother looked away. Her brother didn't speak. Because I was weak? She said. Slow? Not good enough to carry your name? Her mother's lips parted, but no words came. You don't want me, Era said coldly. You want what I've become. Her mother's face twitched. Her brother's eyes narrowed. You'll regret this. No, Era replied, voice firm. I regret ever thinking I needed your love. The guard stepped forward. Cade moved too, hand near a stun tool. Easy, he said. No one's dragging anyone away. Her brother raised a hand, stopping the guards. We'll go. he said quietly. But this isn't over. Era didn't flinch. They turned and left. As the ship rose into the sky, Cade placed a hand on her shoulder. You handled that like a storm, he said. I felt like one, she whispered. But not the kind that destroys. The kind that clears the sky. Cade smiled. But far above, inside the Talrek ship, her brother spoke into a private comm. If she will not return willingly, he said, we will break the man who made her. Strong. That night, Cade sat at his old desk reviewing ship logs. Era cleaned tools nearby. The fire crackled gently in the barrel beside them. They'll try again, Era said. Probably. They'll come for you. Let them, he said, sipping tea. I've fought bigger battles than pompous cowards. You shouldn't have to fight anymore. He looked at her, surprised by the sharpness in her voice. This time, she said, I'll protect you. And in her eyes, he saw it. Steel. Fire love. The kind no bloodline could ever erase. Second chances and starlight. 3 nights passed. Peace in the scrapyard felt like borrowed time. Ara checked every fence twice. She moved the motion sensors higher, reinforced the workshop door, and added small alarms Cade had shown her how to build. Cade didn't stop her. He knew what was coming. The Talrex family would not give up. He could see it in her eyes. How each smile she gave now had weight behind it. How her hands trembled only after the work was done. She was scared, but more than that, she was ready. The attack came on the 4th night, silent ships. No warning, no sound. Ara heard it first, an odd hum that didn't belong. Then, crash. The back wall of the yard exploded inward. Masked soldiers poured through the smoke. Their armor bore the Talrex mark, but their movements were those of hired killers. Ara ran to the workbench, grabbing the defense pad Cade had modified just days ago. It wasn't a weapon, but it could jam signals and set off every alarm across the station. She pressed the trigger. Screams filled the air as lights blinked red and warning sirens echoed into the dark. Cade came limping out of the side shed. Stun, baton in hand. Ara, get back, no, she shouted. This is my fight too. They stood side by side as 3 attackers charged. Ara ducked one strike, rolled under a second, and swung a sharp metal pipe into a soldier's knee. He collapsed with a growl. Cade blocked 2 strikes from another before pushing him into a scrap pile. The last attacker raised a shock rifle and pointed it at Cade. Time froze. Ara didn't think, didn't hesitate. She threw herself between them. Zap! The blast hit her side. She fell. Cade roared, slamming his baton down with all his strength. The last attacker dropped. Ara! Cade rushed to her, grabbing her shoulders. Her breathing was fast, her face pale, but she was awake. Still. Here, she whispered. You're crazy, he said, voice shaking. So are you. She smiled weakly. Sirens echoed louder now. Real ones. Station patrol had received the signal. Within minutes, ships surrounded the scrapyard. Talrex soldiers tried to flee, but they were caught. Masks pulled off, names taken, orders traced, and at the top, her brother's signature. 3 days later, Ara lay in the station's med ward. Her wound was healing, slowly. Cade sat beside her, reading repair logs out loud just to annoy her. You read like a broken bot, she grumbled. My voice has character. It has dust. They both laughed. Then a knock. An officer stepped in. Tall, female, with silver, eyes that seemed more kind than usual for law enforcers. Ara, she said, we've reviewed everything. The attack, the past, the evidence. Ara sat up slowly. Your former bloodline has lost their council seat. The officer continued. They will answer for their crimes. Cade smirked. About time. And you? The officer looked at Ara. You are now a protected citizen of the Frontier Alliance, free to live wherever you choose, and you've received 3 job offers, 1 from a royal shipyard, 1 from a research vessel, and 1 from an elite engine guild. Ara blinked. All that for fixing ships? No, the officer said. For standing your ground, for surviving. As she left, Ara looked at Cade. What do I do? What do you want? To stay, for now. With you. His eyes softened. I was hoping you'd say that. Weeks passed. Era returned to the scrapyard, stronger, wiser. Her name traveled, across the sectors, no longer as a stray or a burden, but as the girl who stood up to her own legacy, and rewrote it. Pilots brought their ships to her by name. Station kids asked her how she learned to fix a thruster with just one hand. But the best moment came one quiet night, under the stars. Cade and Era sat outside, eating soup from metal bowls. You ever think, she said, what if you'd just walked past me that day? Every day, he replied. Why didn't you? He looked at her. Because the moment I saw you, I remembered what it felt like, to lose someone, and I knew I wasn't going to lose again. Era didn't reply. She just leaned her head against his arm. They sat in silence. Not alone. Not broken. But whole, beneath a sky full of second chances and starlight.